Hello, everyone. I'm Bob McMasters, and welcome to the Tuesday Night Live Show. I'm your host, and tonight we have another great show and featured guest coming your way. We hope you have your milk cold and your cookies warm. That's for our friend down there, Mr. Rex Ray. So sit back and enjoy the show because here we go. This is Tuesday Night Live. Thank you to everyone tuning in live or via a replay. Just glad you're joining us tonight. Say hello to my co-host for the night, Santa Scott Seriton.
Hello, everyone. Oh, glad to be here, Bob. I hope you're doing well. We have beautiful weather here in Oklahoma today. How about you?
Oh my goodness, it was in the 80s here today. Crazy, crazy. Supposed to cool off a little bit tomorrow, but today was very spring, almost summer like mid 80s. So, all right, everyone, Scott is here because Spangle is out traveling with his 40-foot stuffforsanta.com mobile trailer for the next couple of 3 weeks. So Scott's going to be with us, and good to have you along, Scott. Also, say hello to our talented show producer, our very own Angela Mack, whom is back. And I got to tell you, she's got her hand on the shot collar button just in case Scott or myself happens to get out of line.
Oh,
Hey, this is season 3, episode 2, so anything could happen, right? Be prepared. Okay, so we got a lot of great and positive messages from viewers about last week's guest and show. We just want to thank everyone for reaching out, giving us your comments, your input. We greatly appreciate it here at the Tuesday Night Live show and on the Monday show with Bob Randall and Company Live. Our featured guest tonight has made multiple appearances on the Tuesday Night Live show. But before we bring Jessica out of the green room into the studio, just want to remind everyone that the Tuesday Night Live show can now be found on YouTube or Facebook at the Tuesday Night Live show. And for your convenience, all our shows are recorded for later viewing and cataloged on both groups. Please visit us, drop us a comment, a like, a share, subscribe. We're 2 subscriptions away from getting our private URL for tonight's Tuesday Night Live show channel that we have over there on YouTube. It's just 2 more and we get to get it. We're getting close. We do appreciate you. The first half of the Tuesday Night Live show trivia is brought to you by schoolofsantas.com, hosted in Branson, Missouri, where education and fun meet.
Well, as Bob said, this trivia question is brought to you by Spangle's School of Santas. Here is the question, so get your fingers ready and start typing. Silver Dollar City in Branson has a groundbreaking wooden coaster named Outlaw Run and is known as the world's most daring wooden coaster. It is known for 2 main reasons. What are the reasons and why? 2 of them. I'll read it one more time. Well, it's on the screen, so I won't have to read it again. Thank you, Angela. But Silver Dollar City in Branson has a wooden coaster named Outlaw Run and is known as the world's most daring wooden coaster. It is known for 2 main reasons. We want to know what they are.
I haven't had a chance to go out to Silver Dollar City yet. Maybe since we're going to be there 2 weeks and have a few days to do some sightseeing, it might be something we might think about doing. They have so many arts and crafts and different things out there. Of course, they got quite a few coasters and rides, but I would be more into the arts and crafts and the history of the Ozarks for myself.
Well, we can maybe even possibly do one of our lives from out there, kind of show people what is in Branson.
That would be kind of cool too. We'll have to think about that. All right, so everyone get their answers in. It's going to take a second to do a little research, find out what that is. It's out there though, and we're going to move right on along. We'll be right back on the other side of this.
The first half of tonight's Tuesday Night Live show is brought to you by SchoolofSantas.com. Kick off your 2023 season with inspiration from the School of Santas, an annual premier educational opportunity where fun and education meet, and is held each year the third weekend in July in scenic Branson, Missouri. School of Santas prides itself in bringing in a variety of new instructors and presenters each year, which makes this school unique in the Christmas community. Offering quality education, training, and fun for only $359. Included in your tuition is 4 days of classes, Thursday through Sunday, and 4 fun nights of entertainment. 2 of these are in-house, along with 2 Branson theater shows, where the class can enjoy time out on the town. We kick off both nights with a parade, our annual School of Santas tribute to Daisy May. All meals provided during class served in-house include a total of 4 dinners and 3 lunches. And breakfast is also included if staying at the host hotel. To close out the weekend, we have the Sunday graduation reception with Elvis entertaining on stage. We also have our expanded StuffForSanta.com mobile store in-house all weekend along with other select premier vendors. Remember, School of Santas Branson, Missouri is where fun and education meet. For more information, or to reserve your $359 educational, fun vacation in Branson, contact Tanya Lay at 1-800-432-4202 or email Tanya at bransonticket.com. Hotel rooms are not included in the price. Reservations for your room at the American by Wyndham Branson and Conference Center can be made at the time of registration. Remember to contact Tanya at 1-800-432-4202 before it's too late. Now, back to tonight's show.
Well, tonight's featured guest is joining us from her Holiday Photo Magic Studios in Springfield, Missouri. We will be talking all about her experience, how she creates the magic, take a tour of the studio, and her new projects coming up. We're so excited to have her back on the Tuesday Night Live 2023 Season 3. Please give a warm, warm welcome to Miss Jessica Rosa.
Hey.
Hi, Jessica.
Oh, this is my buddy.
Welcome back, and good to have you back on. I know we got a lot to cover tonight, so let's start off talking about some exciting news. Some may have already heard, but we at the Tuesday Night Live show are super excited to have Jessica and Holiday Photo Magic joining the ranks as a show contributor and trivia prize giveaway sponsor for 10 shows of this season. I think we decided it was every first Tuesday, correct, Jessica?
Yes.
Every first Tuesday of each month, Jessica and Holiday Photo Magic will bring a third trivia question with the first correct answer receiving a prize. Okay, Jessica, tell us about what Holiday Photo Magic will be offering to the winners of tonight's Holiday Photo Magic Trivia.
Well, you get your option. You have 3 options to choose from. You can send me 10 of your unprofessional, unedited photos for me to white balance, correct, maybe do a little enhancing, like if it's out of focus or if the photo is kind of small, I can res it up a little bit so it won't display so pixelated on your websites and stuff like that. So you can send me 10 photos and I will help to make them better. Or I will design you a one-sided business card The card, you'll get the design so you can do your own printing. But if you want to have it printed through me, there is a cost for the physical printing, but the designing is absolutely for free. So, and then the last thing is that I do a lot of social media like posts for like School of Santas and stuff for Santa myself. So I make a lot of Instagram posts, and I can make a couple or make an Instagram announcement, Facebook announcements, kind of like the one I did for the show where it has the name up at the top and then the people and all the information and stuff like that. I will design an announcement like that for you that you can use during the holiday season or to share about something that is interesting in your content on your page.
Sounds
So you
great.
get to choose.
All right, so Jessica, share with us your background in photography.
Okay, now I am such a talker. We know this. So I decided, because all these questions, we talked about them before the show. So I decided to go ahead and write an actual real answer to each one of these questions, just so I won't get off track or get distracted, so I can remember what I was going to say, or what I wanted to say. But I also have a Patreon page where I post a lot of updates about things that I'm doing and stuff like that. Now you can access it by going to Holiday Photo Magic. Right now, our website is still under construction. I was hoping to have it ready by tonight's show, but just didn't get pulled together in time. So, but you can access the Patreon page by going to that page where I'll actually post my answer, the written form, all on the on there for free, so you can access it. So you can, if you didn't understand what I said, or you want a clarification, or I didn't answer it in any way that I intended, y'all can go to the Patreon page and get the answer. So, so first off, I just want to share about, it's hard to imagine nowadays that with so many people entering the profession, just what seems like effortlessly, that once upon a time ago, I apprenticed with two master photographers before opening my own full-time portrait studio. And at my portrait studio, I specialized in portraits of children, families, high school seniors, weddings, and had a staff around 5 to 8 people that helped. I had clerical where they'd answer the phone and book appointments, go over their sessions with the clients, show them the photos afterwards. And then I had also a production team that would help me to facilitate, the photos, do the conversions, editing, and send it to our lab. And then, of course, we also had a sales team that would sit down with the client and go over the images and recommend whether or not they should have framing done, albums, all of, we were a full service portrait business. And I did that for 20 years until technology and really digital just kind of, and cell phones kind of came in, and it diluted the market and changed the way people looked at hiring or purchasing photography. So it just ultimately changed the market. And so, I ended up closing the studio in 2012 and becoming a freelancer because I felt like it would be a better way for me to move forward in the photography industry, as it wasn't sustainable to hold a full-time portrait business. But then I also did photos of Santa and Mrs. Claus. And although I was inspired by others, I also had my own, technique, my own style, and just kind of created a little niche for myself, even in that capacity.
Okay, great. That sounds great. My question that I want to ask is kind of might be a little touchy. I don't know, but I don't want to make anybody mad or ruffle any feathers. But how in the world did you meet the clown?
You know what? When I had my portrait studio, I had clients that would come in to me and ask for Santa photos that were just a little bit more involved than going to the mall and just a really quick, hello and goodbye. And the photos at the mall and at the other places, they just felt like they weren't as artistic. They were kind of pretty generic, and it was just mostly, Santa the child in the chair. So they asked me if I would create, because I was really well known for creating unique, elaborate sets. So I did that based upon a request of a client. And then I honestly, and I kind of feel a little embarrassed to say this, but it's the truth. And I don't want to misrepresent things, but I rented a Santa suit from a local costume place, and took my employee's husband, because he was kind of a big guy, and put the suit on him and paid him to sit in the chair. And he was a fake beard. He didn't have a real beard. And the first year he did really great, but the second year we actually, he kind of said that he felt like the beard was really gross by the end of because he had sweat in it and stuff like that. And he was just like, can we not get that again? And so I did buy an actual beard and, some the accessories. I still rented the suit, but I got some accessories online, and then he, we suited him up again, put him in the chair. But this time we didn't know about how hot he was in the suit. And it just made him all cozy and warm, and he would fall asleep during the photo shoots, which is amazing because I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I'm trying to get these kids to smile. These kids, some of the kids are, having full on meltdowns, and here's Santa, just sleeping away. So while I was showing the photos to a client and apologizing for the fact that he fell asleep in the photo shoot, and that I was going to swap out his expression, or where his eyes would be open in another image, because it wasn't just a blink. I mean, it was several where he was sleeping. I apologized to the client, and I said, I'm really sorry. And she goes, well, have you ever heard of Spangle the clown? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, he does professional Santa Claus, and our company uses him a lot. I know him really well. And you should talk to him about being your Santa. He would be a good person to do it. And to be honest with you, I just kind of said, okay, and went about my business. Yeah, just like, all right.
It's just another clown.
Yeah, thanks for the referral. And then the next thing I know, like, I think it was a couple weeks later, or maybe even a month. It's hard to say, when you're going from gig to gig and doing event to event, you kind of become in a vacuum. But one day, this guy comes into the studio and he says, ta-da, I'm Spangle the Clown. And I was just like, ta-da, good for you. He goes, no, I heard you were looking for a Santa. And I said, well, I am actually. And he and I talked about, I explained to him what, my last Santa would fall asleep in the chair. And he says, well, I won't fall asleep in the chair if you get me Red Bull. So the deal is that I always had to get him 2 or 3 Red Bulls for each day, and he didn't fall asleep. I'll tell you that. There was days I had to peel him off the ceiling, but he did not fall asleep. but we just started working with each other, and and him and Daisy, she was the Mrs. Matter of fact, I didn't realize at the time how much of an asset Mrs. Claus was, because I never thought of a Mrs. Claus. I mean, my clients weren't asking for her. They were just asking for Santa, but Santa, or Spangle, he said he wouldn't work without her. So, and I was like, okay. And, we agreed on a day rate. I didn't pay him by the hour, but he felt like he negotiated with me the Red Bulls. He negotiated a handful of images that he could use for marketing. And that I would help him with a postcard or something like that, for designing, because he needed some stuff done. And we put all of this in writing, because I wanted to make sure, well, I didn't know him and he didn't know me. So, but then over the years, I think it was almost 8 years, him and Daisy, and did the service, and it grew. It grew into like a bigger experience, versus just a meet and greet. And then one day, when the business had changed so much in the photography industry, it was his turn, and he introduced me to this Christmas community. So we've kind of come full circle with our relationship now. And now I help him in a lot of ways.
Well, Jessica, I think many know that you're involved with stuff for Santa and School of Santas, which you kind of touched on just then. What role do you play in the big scheme of things?
Well, okay. Behind the scenes, I am involved. I do the marketing for my own business. And I just started giving advice to Spangle on how to create a better online presence. That's, I just was like, you really should do this, you should do that. And as a professional photography business started to decline, it allowed me to use my experience with branding to take jobs with other companies to help them build their brands based upon the experience I had in building my own. Now I help Spangle with his branding, which is sometimes a challenge for me, because the marketing, the branding, the advertising of my businesses and his businesses at the same time kind of overlap each other. So sometimes it's a little overwhelming. But I handle the website and social media for our pages and advertising, and promotions, which is, jrosaphoto.com, holidayphotomagic.com, northpoleliving.com, stuffforsanta.com, schoolofsantas.com, and gotsanta.com. This is the reason why I created the Peppermint Press.
Well, great. That was a good lead in. Tell us, what is the Peppermint Press?
It is the best way for me to keep in contact with everyone where our businesses overlap, because it's the best way is email marketing. It's important to transition clients or potential clients from a passive observer to an active participant. Otherwise, you're not really connecting with your market. People think posting on social media is advertising, but really it's just shouting in a room with a bunch of already shouting people. So sure, a few will hear you, but if you're not qualifying them as a client or customer, you're probably not earning their loyal or trust. By handling an email list and sending them the bare minimum of a month or a quarterly newsletter, to your clients, you're really investing in them, so they will in turn invest in you. The Peppermint Press is an easy way for me to invest and consolidate my time, given our audiences are kind of the same. This doesn't mean that everybody is in my market. There are some people that I won't do business or won't do business with, or, even ones that, Spangle hasn't been treated well, from, because everyone makes mistakes. But if you're unkind or, unhappy, we always try to fix things. But our goal is to try and show people that we're growing, that we're learning from our mistakes, that progress is being made. Because as business owners, our combined experience, there's always something to learn.
Well, Jessica, last year you mentioned on social media that you're going to step away from portraits. Does this mean you're quitting photography?
Oh my gosh, this was a big ordeal. It freaked out a lot of people.
Pick me.
Yeah.
Wording matters.
Yeah. The answer is yes and no. I know it's a little vague, but after being a photographer who has offered tens upon thousands of portrait sessions with children, families, individuals, companies, events, and weddings, I want to dedicate all of my time to creating Christmas photography of and for Santa and Mrs. Claus. And the Christmas community. Last year, I was still juggling between designing designing projects, portrait, and then fine art sessions. It was hard for people to understand how I could be working on both, given the requirements of these jobs being so different. And the common criticism that I kept hearing was that you should finish one before you're doing more. But what many didn't realize is that a lot of these things were in the pipeline long before I even decided to do the fine art sessions or the events. For example, in 2021, when I reopened the studio for the Santa experience, I had moved my studio into this warehouse. Remember, Bob, when I was doing your portraits at my other studio up on Campbell, how limited the space was? How I had, and Scott, you were there too. You had your session there. Remember, I had to move things around in order to do different sets and stuff like that. And we were even talking back then, how great would it be to have a place where I could set up permanent sets and then just move between the sets. You should see this place when I do a photo shoot. It still gets trashed. There's no way around that. But it was really limited in space. So this is but back in 2021, I decided to move the studio into this warehouse. I should also mention that it had been a few years since I offered our Santa experience, is what we called it, because of COVID and my time. And because I also worked for a business journal for about a year and a half. But I agree. But I expected a bigger response than I got coming back into doing the Santa experiences. At first, I thought it was the location because this warehouse is in a very industrial spot, which is not manicured in any way because it's industrial. Once you get inside, it's another story, but it's a little rough looking on the outside. And even though it was on the south side of town, which is a good side of Springfield, I can't afford very much. So kind of working with what I got. But eventually I hope to move into something even, nicer, a nicer industrial spot, or commercial again. But I thought the location was the hindrance. So for the 2022 Christmas season, I found a place where I could rent a studio on a temporary basis. Since I had enough props and backgrounds, I could offer that retail experience for the younger children and the warehouse experience for the older children. The owner of the retail location was renovating, so he didn't mind holding the space for me, where it wasn't ready for me to move in until mid-October, which at the time, that's when things really got overloaded for me, trying to do a multitude of things at once. I did everything I knew to create the studio and advertise, but people were not booking. So I thought maybe it was just too early. Um, uh, People weren't in the mindset to book photo sessions. So I pushed everything back. Renting this studio and hiring the Santas and the Misses was difficult to manage. I loved working with all of the people that we hired to come into the studio. But paying for 2 locations and advertising on social media, my Santas and I lost big. It just didn't go well this year. Matter of fact, I'm still I still owe a couple of the Santas, and just because I haven't been able to market for the next season yet, they're giving me grace in being able to raise the money to because I lost so much money paying for 2 locations and the advertising trying to get the business in. But keep in mind here, and this is really important for everybody to hear, because I manage a group of over 1,000 local photographers. So I have a very specific inside track as to what's going on in the industry. And I can tell you that it wasn't just me that was struggling. It's across the board. The customers are not coming back in the same capacity as they were prior to COVID. Now, in marketing, there is this thing, and it's a certain name, and I can't starts with an S. I can't remember it off the hand. But what happens is that when something enters the market, it kind of goes, it flatlines, and then it goes straight up, and then it flatlines again. Okay. So there's this huge increase where everybody starts to offer all the same services, everybody starts to buy, but then things start to kind of plateau again. Well, we're at that plateau when it comes to the Santa's experiences, and the Santa sessions, because the market, there's so many photographers in the market right now that people feel like they have so many options that they don't feel like they need to come to somebody like me for their kids to get that, experience. So, and let me ask you this, okay? Because, again, I'm just trying to help everybody understand that, how many of the people here that are joining, or even you guys, have used your cell phone photo for your Facebook page portfolio, or your, your Facebook, the Facebook profile photo. How many of you have less than ideal lighting photos with clarity and all that stuff on your phones and things like that? So I'm just saying that the level of quality of photography is not as important as it once upon a time ago was. And this is coming back to kind of bite us. So knowing what I know about the photography industry, I need to diversify my income because I can't rely on it to be there much longer. And to be really honest with you, AI scares a lot of us because it's already killed the media industry. It's already killed coders for web designs and stuff like that. AI is definitely impacting the industry. So when people say, I want to work with a bunch of photographers, I'm just going to tell you that you're going to find that there's just not going to be a whole lot of photographers to work with.
Very good. And Jessica, the economy has really been bad since COVID hit, but even now with inflation, and as you mentioned, everyone has a cell phone now, and it's a cheaper way to go, and they're not thinking ahead at the quality of what they can get from a photographer. So that has made a difference. Uh, Now tell us about this. Although you have been J. Rosa Photography since I first met you and design, uh, why did you change the name to the Holiday Photo Magic?
Well, because I'm going to drop doing portrait sessions for families, children's weddings, all that kind of stuff. And I want to singularly focus on the holiday part of my business. So, when I had Lamb Portrait Studio, Lamb was my maiden name. When I had Lamb Portrait Studio, when I decided to go freelance, I changed it to J. Rosa because Rosa was my married name, because I was no longer a portrait business. You kind of have to represent who you are, because if people were to look for J. Rosa Photography, they could still imply that I would be willing to do events, commercial work, headshots for, businesses and stuff like that. And that's stuff I want to, not do anymore. So I can concentrate just solely on the Christmas community.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
All right, so go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, for example, you and I are running the same cameras, and look at Jessica's camera, for example. I mean, she's running off an iPhone, what is it, 12 Pro Max?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the clarity. So, I mean, that kind of explains part of the decline in the photography business. I would assume from what you just said, and that we kind of overlook that. We take it for granted that so we all buy a cell phone and they just get better and better, and we don't look at that we're taking food out of your mouth, so to speak, because the technology's changed so much. But I'm really, really glad that you shared that with us, and kind of it helps us as Santas and helps us as the general public to kind of understand the struggles that photographers all over are having. I mean, are you, I was going to ask this anyhow, but are you going to, if somebody came to you and wanted a family portrait, so you're not going to do it at all? So in
Nope.
other words, if I brought my Mrs. Claus and Knit Ram the elf, which you've met, which was in a couple of pictures, but you're still going to do that. So we could do family portraits that way.
It's just that I can't be in both worlds at the same time. The main complaint that, I have is that, I mean, there's only so much time that I can work in a day, and I'm not a machine. And, the fine art images, I mean, we'll kind of get into that a little bit later about what they are and how they work, but they're a lot of work. Doing a regular portrait session, people just think I push a button, upload it, and send it to them. But that's not all the work that goes into it. There's backing it up, there's white balancing, there's, scrubbing the image. There's a lot that goes into even just the portrait side of it. I mean, if I can't tell you how many hours I have spent retouching pimples off of a high school senior, and they had 40 images that they purchased. It's a very time consuming task, which at the end just looks, and it's because people see things on the internet where it's just a push of a button or a filter and stuff like that, which granted, it looks okay on a phone or on a screen, but you can't print that. And everything that I do for large scale printing and then downsize it for the screen, because all my work is designed to be printed up to a 30-inch portrait, which you blow it up that big, you're going to see dust. You're going to see
Pixelated fast.
Oh yeah, you're going to see dander. You're going to see dust. You're going to see stray hairs from the. You wouldn't believe how much work goes into making the images look clean, just clean.
You know, you mentioned the cameras that you and I use, Scott. They're Logitech 922s. They're a budget streaming camera. You know, we can get into that for a lot cheaper than you can a expensive iPhone. But then look at the difference in the quality as you spoke about. All right, so we got a lot to cover. Let's take a short breather right here because it's time in the Tuesday Night Live show to take our halftime break for a special product announcement. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hey! Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?
No, don't do that.
So it's time for the Tuesday Night Live Showstopper Special. And for this week's StuffForSanta.com Showstopper Special, Spangle is gone, so I'm going to cover it. We've got something else we got to do real quick, and then I'll get to it on the other side. Right, this is something we haven't run. This is something that's been around on the market for some time. Spangle and I went in, it's been almost 2 years ago now, I guess, and repurchased a bunch of these. Inventory is good. This is the Santa's North Pole Naughty or Nice Inspector Badge in display wallet. As you can see here, is the light's kind of killing the Santa face on it. But this is a red wallet. Has a place for your driver's license, business cards, whatever you'd like to display in here. This has a flap. You can put it on your belt or in your pocket like a detective would. And these are normally $45 plus $7 shipping. We have this good through February 27th. That's next Monday for $25 free shipping. $25 free shipping. If anyone's interested, reach out to Spangle and or myself. We both have inventory, and we'll be glad to help you out on that. Those I use mine a lot. I think everybody that's had them through the years, they've been around for a number of years, have used them, and they're fun. It's a great conversation piece. So if you're interested, reach out and let us know. All right, Angie.
Oh, hello there. Yes, of course, it's me, Santa Claus. Now, you may not believe this, but one of the questions I get asked the most is, well, not how do I do it all in one night? No, but where do I get all my things from? Yes, now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the finest things I have. My glorious gloves, all my knickknacks and trinkets and things, yes, all the giveaways, yes, for me to give to the children before the main event. Yes, if I see them in the streets, if they come and see me, I like to have something in my pocket I can treat them with. Yes, and there's one special place where I can find all these magical goods. And that is, of course, StuffForSanta.com. You should head there now and see what magical gifts you can find. Mrs. Claus, have you got my ice pad? Yes, log me on. I'm going to have a look. I shall see you there. StuffForSanta.com. Merry Christmas.
Well, here's our next trivia question brought to you by StuffForSanta.com. All right, everybody ready? Get your fingers ready. Get ready to type and look it up. Which novel written about the Ozarks has become the fourth most widely read book in publishing history? What year was it published, and who was the author? Which novel written about the Ozarks has become the fourth most widely read book in publishing history? What year was it published, and who was the author?
Try to get those fingers to moving. Put your answers in. We'll get to the real bit of the answers later on in the show. So, all right, Jessica, moving on to the second half of tonight's program. Let's dive a little deeper into holiday photo magic. How would you describe holiday photo magic?
Right now, the best way I would describe it is that I'm not just providing a traditional photography experience. I mean, you're going to get that from the photographers that most of you work with or that you can hire within your local town. A lot of the photographers are going to have, in one way or another, the capacity to shoot just regular photos, so to speak. But what I want to do is that I want to create photography that goes above, well, it's not really photography. It's actually a cross between a illustrated portrait. It's like a hyper reality of what Christmas or the magic of Christmas is supposed to represent. Um, and people, when they look at my work, I want them to just look at it and go, wow, now that's Christmas. Or, that just makes me feel happy looking at that. Or it's so magical. Or, and I see when people, post my images, because a lot of my clients are also my friends, on Facebook. So it's really fun during the holidays when even past clients, that it's been several years since I've done sessions with them, and I'll see them still using the images, on their Facebook feed, and the responses that people give them, or say. Uh, it's really inspiring to kind of keep me wanting to keep going and creating, something new. So, holiday photo magic is really about embracing Christmas in an artistic and creative way that has a certain precision to it that gives it a very commercial appeal. So when people are scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, it just makes them stop and look, and that's what I'm trying to do with holiday photo magic.
Yeah, the cover photo that I have on my personal Facebook page is of me sitting in the chair there with the book by the fireplace in your studio in my PJs of all things. But I get compliments on that. People ask about that photo more than any photo I have, I guess. But that's because I put it up there after your session and never have taken it down.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, I'm going to throw two questions at you kind of at once, and you can answer them together.
Okay.
Do people really need the fine art photos? And with that being said, could you explain to our viewers why does someone need photos like this?
Okay. Now, I've really thought about this because there is a lot of people, especially in my circle of people, that were like, well, they really don't need all of that. No, you're right. They don't. If they're just wanting a photo is a photo is a photo, no, they don't need all of this. But what I believe, and this is, I mean, you got to believe in your own work, to a certain extent here. But, I believe that my work is beautiful and magical, and most of all, it gets people's attention. So, a lot of work goes into, like I said, creating that very polished commercial appeal. And without it's just, like every other photo that you've ever seen of Santa or Mrs. Claus. But let me explain something, by using an example of a past client. There was a client of mine that went to a job interview it wasn't a job interview. It was actually an audition. And he took in my photos as part of his headshots that he submitted for them to consider him for the job. And he said to me, and he's actually a Santa from Texas. And he said that when he went in, and this was for Chip and Joanna Gaines. So, I mean, this is a company where image is very important to them. They had to have a Santa that represented Santa to them. And they said that when they took a look at my photos, that was it. They believed that he was Santa because he represented himself in such a way that every other headshot that they looked at or photo that they looked at couldn't compete with the feeling they got when they looked at my images of him. And that was the reason why he was hired. And he shared that with me. So it's, if you really want to get yourself, to have that extra attention, it does help, then keep in mind, not only will it, and that's just the fine arts part of it, where that extra quality, that extra care, the extra creativity that goes into creating the fine art. And the reason why I call it fine art is because it takes me anywhere from an hour to sometimes 2 hours to work on one photo. That's just one photo. And unfortunately, I don't understand how much time I'm going to need or that a photo is going to take until the photo, I start working on the photo. Every single click is a decision. It's never just pushing a button and then poof, there it is. If it could be, man, I would be rocking these things out like next week. Let me tell you, I would not be dragging it out because it is hard work. Like I said, every single click is a decision. So, but then, the other thing is that there is going to come a point in time. And again, I'm going to use another Santa as an example. There is going to come a point in time where your days as Santa will come to a close, whether it being physically because the job is too much or you've passed. And there was a Santa that at one of the events last year, I'm not going to say who, but you probably would figure it out, who passed away, that had a photo shoot with me. Now, when we did the photo shoot, he actually told me how sick he was and where he was at in his treatment. And he said, "You're probably not going to be able to get these photos done before I pass." And I asked him, I was like, "Well, do you want me to go ahead and put you ahead of it?" "I'll do that, because and he said, "No, I don't want you to do that." He goes, "I want you to treat me as fairly as you would treat everybody else. You get to me when it's my turn, and you put your heart into it, that I know that you do when you do these images." And he did pass. And shortly thereafter, his wife reached out to me and she said, "We know that we weren't going to get these beforehand. But if it is at all possible, can I have them for the funeral?" And I was like, absolutely. Matter of fact, I know he told me not to put him ahead, but I'm putting him ahead. I can't not, So I did do his photo shoot before I was actually ready to do it. But these photos are his legacy. And he's not choosing to leave. He didn't want to leave his legacy with a cell phone photo or a photo done by another photographer with some random kid, or even photos with his grandkids or his children, because he wanted it to be of him for them. And so he just kind of got it. So, he was willing, it was important. So knowing that my photos, and there was another Santa that he actually got his photos before he passed away, but it was like 2 months, I think it was, after he had gotten his photos, he had passed away. And again, that was my first experience, going through this, and it happened at the very first event at Discovery Santa. And I've never forgotten about the importance of that because of it. And that's another reason why I put so much time and care into it, because, well, it is my heart. It is my love that I'm giving back. But then the last thing is, not only does, do you need these photos that you'll be able to use them, but they're going to mean something to everyone, you and your family, at some point. Because, like I said, when you do stop being Santa, and I think being Santa is a calling, because not every Santa or not every gentleman with a white beard is a Santa. I mean, I have my stepdad is a very nice gentleman, and he looks just like, well, he's like Norwegian and German. So he looks just like Santa, and it just kills me that I'm like, Dad, come on, just let me do a session. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, nope, I am not a Santa. I'm not gonna do it, kid. I love you, but no. So it's a very special person that does this and that spreads this message. And so, again, I feel like my images also help share that message. So again, there's a lot of love and consideration put into them. And that's why I think you need them.
Great answer. All right, so Jessica, tell us, what is visual equity?
Okay, now this is a really important thing to understand, especially when it comes to branding and it comes to helping the client build trust and loyalty into your business. If you think of, for example, if a client meets you in person, okay, and you give them a business card, and on the business card isn't the best photo of you, okay, it's kind of a very generic photo. It might not even be the right color, and actually out of focus, and and maybe, and your head's too small, they can't see your face and stuff like that, but they see your website, or they see your social media pages, and then they go to your social media page, and the very first photo that they pull up is your cover photo, and your head's cut off, and the photo's pixelated, and all you see is your chest and maybe a part of the belt. And and then on top of it, the photos that they go down and they start to see, and and again, they're not the best photos of you, and some of them are like pixelated. Now social media, you can kind of get away with it a little bit, but your website, absolutely not. You should never ever have a photo on your website that looks pixelated, because then what it does is it sends a message to that client that you don't understand what quality is. So if you don't understand what quality is, or that this is a level of quality to you, then that's what they expect in return. So if you think, well, I'm going to be a $150 hour Santa because I've got the fancy suit and I put, take care of my beard, but you have really crappy photos representing you, how are they to trust that you're going to provide that level of quality when you don't recognize what quality is yourself? So visual equity is when somebody takes a look at your social media, your business contacts, your information, your logo, your fonting. Matter of fact, you never should use a script font on anything that you do. You can have it in some things, but everything should be readable. And these are things that, professional website designers will teach you, or there's a hierarchy in when it comes to what is on the page. And matter of fact, one of the services that I'll offer on one of our trivias is I'll go in and I'll do a positive, constructive critique of your website or your social media, just to help you understand like what somebody sees the second that they enter your website and what that represents. In order to elevate yourself, you've got to elevate your visual equity. And when you do that, you can raise your price and people will accept it without questioning it.
All right. So in past years, you have set up at different events throughout the years. What is the difference between a traveling studio and Christmas warehouse sessions?
Time. When I'm at the events, I'm able to bring a background and some props, but keep in mind I'm traveling. So I only have so much room to bring so much stuff, and then when I get there, I have to get it all set up. And matter of fact, at one of the events I went to last year, they moved my booth 4 times, which was extremely challenging to deal with. And matter of fact, I made a gross error on my behalf because, when you're stressed and you're trying to get all this stuff set up, and you're getting it situated and stuff like that, and you're stressed, so you're not looking at things with a clear-headed mind. I looked at the background and there were some creases and some folds, because normally I roll my backgrounds so there's no creases and folds. But because I didn't have room to put the rolled background in, I folded it. So I brought my steamer to steam out the background. But because of the chaos in setting up my booth, I never got a chance to steam the background or stretch out the floor. So there was a bunch of folds in the backgrounds and creases in the actual background. Well, because this is a snow scene, a painted scene, it's one of my most popular backgrounds for people to purchase photos on, because it allows them to wear the full suit and, because it's outdoors, and they show up really good against it. But when I go to do my illustrated effects on top of it, it makes all the creases and the folds just look awful. I mean, that's all you see.
Wow.
So the only choice I have is to remove all of that. Well, if I could go back in time for last year and do one stupid thing, I would have fixed that background, because I have retouched the same fold, the same creases over 1,000 times. And I'm not kidding. It is, and it took hours. And see, the bad thing about it is like, well, you think, well, just fix one background and then you can paste it on everything else. No, because I'm Miss Little Creativity with my lighting is never the same. So, so the fold that I fix here won't work on this photo over here because the lighting's different. So it was an absolute tragedy. But with the traveling, I can't get, he won't put anything in his trailer because then that's just Spangle. But, and he would charge me. He would charge me for gas because that's just Spangle. But the thing about it is that with the traveling studio, I also only get 2 hours with each client. That's it. That's all I got. I got an hour to shoot, and I got an hour to show them their images. Now, switch gears and come to the studio here. Okay. The sets are all interactive. See, I got my little buddy here. You're able to, I don't know if I can do this. I had to plug in my phone because my battery was dying, but I'm hoping here to kind of walk around.
I see Barry in the background.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that Barry back there?
Hold on a second. I think I'm covering him.
Yeah, that was Barry.
Yep, there's Barry. He's buried in the background. So I'm going to kind of walk around a little bit here just to kind of show you some of the real sets that I have, to kind of give you an idea. This year, I went and bought a bunch of trains. So I'm really excited about, at the traveling studio, I'm going to do something really cool with the trains. I can't wait to figure something out there. And then this over here. Oh, I was going to show you, you know how everybody always says they're an award-winning photographer? I call these my bowling trophies. These are the trophies I've actually won for all the years of, they're so old, of like when I won the Best of the Ozarks, back when I had my portrait studio, you know, like all the awards that I've actually won for my photography. But, and then this is the, what do you call it?
Wrapping?
Gift wrapping station. Yep. And what's really fun is up there, I have a really cool, like all these ribbons and bows and stuff like that. One of my favorite sessions is where it's like Santa, the elves went on vacation or took the night off, and Santa's like, what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? It's so awesome. It's a great shot. I love it. Again, here's another one of my buddies. He just showed up one day. I think he belongs to Spangle, actually. I'm pretty sure. This is another one of the sets with the sleigh. So we actually have a real sleigh and a real Santa bag that is a different color than your outfits. So that way the bag shows up, because, you know, a lot of times the bags are the same color and then you can't really see them between the outfit and stuff. Then of course we've got our little staging area where we sit and look at photos. We got Mrs. Claus's bakery, and yes, this is a real cook stove, and Spangle is more than happy to tell you how hard that was to move in here, because he said he would do it, and I said okay. But it probably weighs a good 1,000 pounds.
Surprise!
Surprise! Yeah, he likes to say they put it on the truck with a forklift, and then it was him, Jason, and his kid that took it off the truck and brought it here. If you've been to School of Santas, you've met Jason. He helps out a lot.
Bonkers the clown.
Bonkers, yes. And then of course we have my favorite set, which this year I plan on making some changes to this set. I feel like I need an extra 5 feet. So after I get caught up and things settle down for me, I'm hoping to do a little bit of remodeling, but right now I can't afford to do anything right now. So, but that's kind of like down the road. So hopefully, and here at the Christmas studio, what's great is that when you come in for a photo session, I spend the entire day with you. Um, we start off usually around mid morning, and we go through all of your outfits, and um, and that usually takes about 2 to 3 hours. Then we'll take a break. You can go for lunch, because you'll be exhausted changing clothes that much and smiling and stuff. But, it is such a fun experience because you're totally immersed in the whole studio. Everything with the lights and everything around. But then after lunch, we meet back here at the studio again. And then we sit down and we go through all of the images because I'll narrow it down to what I feel are kind of like the best images. So you don't have to see every single image that was created, but I'll narrow it down to the best ones. And then you'll cherry pick which ones you feel are the better images that you would want to purchase. So really, the backgrounds, it's themselves and the amount of time between the traveling studio and the warehouse studio is kind of the big difference between the sessions. But when it comes to the actual end product, it's the same process, my same little processing recipe, I guess is what I would call it. um, they look the same at the end regardless if they were photographed here or at the events, because sometimes it's just not feasible for some Santas to make the trip to me. Although I do, have several Santas over the last couple of years, or last year especially, that actually will fly into Springfield, do the photo shoot with me, and then fly out the very next day just so they can come to the studio.
Well, you've kind of already answered my next question, Jessica. So I'm going to throw it out there. But if you just want to hit on it real quick and we'll move on. But I know you've been struggling with the turnaround time, and that's understandable with everything you put into it. But why does it take such a long time to do the editing and magic for the finished photo work?
Yeah, we did kind of talk a little bit about it, but I really want to talk about this because in a different capacity than what I've already kind of said, because, this was a big learning lesson for me this last year. And it's not just, you know, understanding that I made a big mistake with the folds in the background and stuff like that, because, that was a huge contributing factor, at least for the big event that I did this last year. But there is this huge gap between expectation and reality. And and a lot of times when it comes to photography, internet and technology has really even made this more confusing, because I had somebody ask me this last year. They were like, I just want my pictures. And I'm like, well, if you think that that's all I'm doing is just pictures, then I apologize for not explaining it enough to you, because I'm doing something that's so far advanced and beyond just a picture. Now, when I shoot these photos, and a lot of people don't understand when I talk about, and I'm going to show you a print, because I have printed a couple of them 30-inch prints to let you see the quality. And I really want to show you that too. But one of the things that, when people think of, like Photoshop, for example, when you think of Photoshop, think of it like a drill, okay? Just like a regular, cordless drill, okay? if you had two pieces of wood and somebody said, hey, I need you to put these two pieces together, you could go over there and easily just take the two pieces of wood, screw it together, and be called it done, right? But you can also, get a Craig jig, drill out a pocket hole, put the screw in, then fill in the pocket hole with the plug, and then add sand or filler, and then sand down the filler to where, and then now the wood is joined together. But the process is so much more involved. And that is the way I'm trying to describe the difference between just photography and pictures and the fine art and the process that it takes to create the images. But what I learned this last year, which I didn't understand prior to, and I've been doing this for 30 years, is that I don't know that whatever I plan or I put into plan is going to work until I do it. It's a trial by fire kind of scenario. And ever since I have started offering this service, every single time it is, why does it take so long to get my photos? What are you doing? I mean, I kind of laugh at it because I feel like people thinks that I'm just sitting on the couch eating some grapes and just waiting for you to yell at me to send you.
It's the bonbon syndrome.
The bonbons effect.
But I promise you, I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be yelled at. I want to get this done as fast as I possibly can. But I don't want to do a crappy job, because if you paid for a premium job and then I rush the job or I do a crappy job of it, then what am I? That's even worse, I think. It's worse than getting yelled at for taking long. So, if I could say to all of those that worked with me last year, I've done everything I can to apologize for misunderstanding how much time it was going to take me to do this job. Because if I had known that I was going to need this time, if I had known that I wasn't explaining it in the way that I should have been able to explain it or help you understand the amount of work that I put into it, I greatly apologize, because I don't want people to be upset that I'm taking a long time to get the end product done. I want them to be happy. I want them to be excited. But also keep in mind, when you do, I can shoot 25 sessions in 3 days. Okay. Which is what I did at one of the events. So the first session is going to get their session way before the 25th is going to get their session, because I can only process them one at a time. Now, the first session, let's say they had 10 images, not a big deal, right? But let's say number 14 had 30. Well, that kind of slows down the train, So, and that's another thing that I experienced. So what I learned again this year is the whole time thing and how to make it work. So this year we got a new idea. And again, trial by fire. Here we go. But I talked to a couple of others in the industry because, and keep in mind, there's not another photographer that's doing this, okay? There's not another photographer that's bringing all of the props that I'm bringing to the event, setting up an elaborate studio. They'll bring a green screen, sure, and then you get whatever you get and you don't throw a fit. But I'm bringing sets, I'm bringing props, I'm giving you multiple options, and then I'm doing high-end editing on the actual images in a bulk capacity. Now, there isn't a photographer alive, because when I've talked to my colleagues about this, saying, what do I do? They're like, why are you doing this? Are you nuts? And I'm like, but they really like, and they're really good. And it turns out, and they're like, yeah, no, I wouldn't be doing that. You couldn't, So and so I'm trying to make the best of both worlds. So my solution this year is that anybody that books a session with me, within 30 days, you're going to get 3 images. Now, at the first event, which will be Lone Stars, we're going to start limiting how many sessions I offer as well. I'm going to offer 10 sessions. That's it. Once those 10 sessions are booked, I'm not going to do any more. So that means within 30 days, I have to get done 30 images. That's an image a day. I should be able to handle that. Okay. Realistically speaking, especially with the fact that I'm bringing another person in to help me. So within 30 days, they get their first 3 images. Now, those first 3 images, we're going to be really calculated in which ones we're doing, because first off, we know you need a headshot. And she needs you need a headshot, because that's got to go on your business card. Then you need what I call the wow shot, the big wow. When they go to your website or they go to your face or social page and they see that, like you talked about, the image of you sitting by my fire, that's a wow shot. They see that, they go, wow, look at that. And then the other one needs to be an image that showcases you from head to toe. Now, whatever, it could be next to the fireplace, it could be on a snowy background, it could be in the sleigh, whatever it may be. But what it does is it just shows your full outfit, so people can see that you have the boots, that you have the full gear. But those 3 images should get you started. Then the rest of those images will follow within 3 to 6 months after the event. Now, I know that sounds like an awful lot of time, but if something were to happen, like I lost a very close personal friend to me this last year, as we all know about Daisy. And when I came back, it was the day after I came back from Lone Stars that she passed away in the accident. And then it took almost 3 weeks for me to help Spangle get his life on track again afterwards. Because I had, him and Rachel, or me and Rachel, helped him with a lot of things to get him back on track. So 3 weeks after Lone Stars, I couldn't even touch the images. And then I went, that very next week, I went to, had to get ready for another event that happened in Atlanta. So then I go to the event in Atlanta, and it didn't go well. It was a very challenging event. But by the time I got home and recovered from that event, I was just starting with the Lone Star images. And then I finished the Lone Star images, which was right about, I think it was mid-June that I finished them. And then School of Santas, I had to start prepping and getting ready and doing all of these things. And last year, because, Spangle had lost Daisy, I was helping him more than I've ever helped before with School of Santas. And then plus I also had a class that I had to teach. Matter of fact, a couple of friends that was at School of Santas, reached out to me afterwards and said, "You looked really stressed, dear." I said, "I was, it was a lot." And then of course, I did photo shoots there. And although I was really honest with everybody about, I'm behind, I'm trying to get this up, it was just, and then I worked all of August, September, and October, and then I had getting ready for my own Christmas season. It was just too much. And then by mid-November, I was just like, what am I doing? And that's when I realized that I'm just not respecting how much time it really takes to do this. So this is the reason why we came up with the 3-part, delivery method. But worst case scenario, it could take 6 months. Best case scenario, it could take a lot less. And I promise you this next year, if I bring any of my backgrounds where they need to be steamed or stretched, I guarantee you I will find somebody and say, please help me steam this out. Let's stretch this out. I will not make that mistake again. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise.
Jessica, the one thing I'd kind of like to add and let our audience know is that the time frame you're giving people that they can expect these photographs. I don't realize if you haven't had photographs done by you and received anything, I kind of relate that and want to almost say that the finished product, if it's framed and put and printed, that's Norman Rockwell quality. And
Yeah.
I don't think they really realize that's what it's going to kind of look like. And Norman Rockwell didn't do stuff overnight.
No.
I've heard that before.
But
No.
I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't want to, but I think it's time for your trivia, maybe.
Yeah, Angela's going to run this, and then we'll come right back on the other side for the trivia question.
Okay, awesome.
All right, Jessica, go ahead.
She disappeared. Oh, all right, I walked away.
That's holiday magic.
Ta-da! Oh, that would be so awesome if I could do sparklies, right? You know? Okay. I have to find my question because I forgot where it's at here. Hold on a second. Okay. What popular Christmas song donates all of its royalties to Ethiopia? I can't say it. Say it again.
Ethiopia.
Yeah, Ethiopia famine aid. I need the song and the singer.
Song title and artist. That's correct. What popular Christmas song donates all of its royalties to Ethiopia famine aid? All right, so while everyone's digging for the answer there for your trivia question, if you can, as quick as possible, because we're running along here, where do you see yourself heading in the coming years?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, let me grab one more thing. Hold on. Okay. This next year, I made some commitments for 3 events. Lone Stars, Santa Family Reunion, and School of Santas, because we're going to be there for 2 weeks. But after that, I'm not going to do a traveling studio after 2023 this year. I'm going to take a break because it's been a lot to do. Now, I may still go to Santa events, but I'm just maybe do a headshot booth or something like that, where I'll just do headshots only. It'll still have that Norman Rockwell kind of appeal, but it's just going to be a little less overwhelming for me because, it's a lot of work to bring all that stuff. But I also want to create I've done over 100 sessions with Santas. I'm now, like I said, I still have a few more sessions to deliver, but I've delivered every session, that I've done, albeit slow, but I have done a huge amount of work that nobody has seen. And I have people all the time asking me if I'm ever going to put together, like Christmas cards or products, or, there's Santas that, there's a Joey Lagone.
Joel.
Yeah.
Joel grown here in Dallas.
Yeah. He has an insane Christmas home. If you have ever seen how he decorates his home for the holidays, I want to shoot there. It's just, I mean, kudos to their decorator. I mean, wow, I'm just blown away. But he uses my imagery in some of his decorations, and he has people that walk in there going, where can I buy that? Where can I get that? So I would like to create products using Santas that I have photographed, because I think we've got great. I mean, I see stuff in the store all the time and I think, man, I did way better than that, but I don't want to create things and then just be greedy about it. I want to create things where I pay a royalty back to the Santas that participated in the session. I want it to be a collaboration of sorts. I mean, granted, it's my work and my artistry, but that's what royalties are, is so when I create my Santa book, because I want to create a coffee table book of Santas, then I can reach out to all of those that I choose to be in the book and ask them, you can choose to donate your royalties to the charity, because we'll have a charity, because I'm going to donate the royalties for the people that have passed that will be in the book. I'm going to take their royalties and donate it. But they can choose to donate it. They can choose to receive it, because I don't want to take advantage of the Santas by creating work and then selling it as my own. So in that, and then I want to create, like, we forgot to talk about North Pole Living, which North Pole Living was a magazine that I created during COVID, right after I came out of my job working at the Springfield Journal, Business Journal. And but it was just complicated timing. People didn't have money to advertise, and then by the time everybody was ready to get back into the events and stuff like that, they wanted photography, which pulled me in completely two different directions. And at one time, I actually considered selling the magazine to a couple different Santas that were interested. But realistically speaking, I just love that name. So I decided to keep it. And I'm going to create my own online store called North Pole Living, seeing how I already own the website, already own the presence of it, and where I can go and, like I said, sell products that I can create using the photos and like I said, it's because I want to diversify my income and not rely solely on photography in the facilitating of photography to create this my work. Oh, and I was going to grab real quick while you guys are doing your thing. I want to go grab that print to show you what we were talking about the Norman Rockwell kind of feel. So I'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, viewers, hey, if you'd like to ask any questions or have any comments while Jessica's running after the photo, why don't you go ahead and post those in the comments, and we'll see if we can answer them, or she can follow up and answer some of those as she gets back.
Okay, that stool moves. Bad idea. Okay, this way. Okay, hold on. It's a really big photo.
Jessica, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so AJ Bayless has put his hat in to help you unload your stuff at School of Santa's, all your props and things. Just want to let you know that I think Angela had put it up on the screen. I didn't know if you saw it or not. But AJ's great helper. He can help bring stuff in, carry stuff in and out for you. Also, AJ, the School of Santas also has the Stuff for Santa store. We'll need help there too, so we'll keep you plenty busy. Believe me, brother.
Bob Smith asked, when will you open your calendar for appointments in Gatlinburg?
Okay, I've been holding off on opening my calendar because I didn't want people to think that I was taking on more work and not finishing the work that I still have to do. Even though the event is in the future and not, happening next week. And like, for example, I did do a photo shoot last week, but I informed them that it'll be 6 months before they get their photos. So I don't want people to think that I'm shooting stuff and then next week delivering their photos and not doing other people's photos, because I don't know how that connection was created. But definitely my calendar is open, and if you contact me, you can go to jrosaphoto.com and get my email, phone number, and you can contact me and we can get you scheduled. But here is the photo or the print of, I'm going to try to get the glare off of it. Hold on.
Yeah, your computer or your phone screen is
Totally
giving a little bit of
glaring.
glare, and the studio lights
There,
are
that's
too.
pretty good.
That's good
Yeah.
right there.
So you can kind of see now, actually, now this is something, again, this is just me being a critical artist, but when the glasses, when the object reflects the light up into the face, it recreates lines on all the glasses. Okay. Matter of fact, it's really distracting. And I removed all of them, but I forgot this shadow right here. You see that one little shadow?
Mm-hmm.
I should, it just drives me crazy. Every time I look at it, that's all I see is that one shadow. And I should have removed that one shadow to where it made the eyes just a little bit more even like that. But again, like I said, that's one of those, I'm really uber picky as a photographer, and probably nobody notices except for me.
But that's Norman Rockwell quality right there, in my opinion. Now that's, who am I? But anyhow, Rex Ray, I want to pass his comment on to you. He says, you need to make Spangle add your stuff to his 40-foot trailer.
I would love that. But when we go to Santa Family Reunion, he's actually, I think, going to let me borrow his other trailer, his Catch Santa video trailer. So that way I can bring some more stuff. But I think he's also thinking that he's going to take his truck and he's not going to take the trailer, and he's going to put stuff in the trailer along with my stuff and then make me haul the trailer. So I'm not really sure how all that's working yet.
Logistics, that all can be worked out in the near future, right?
He's always got a clowning angle.
Oh, but he has been such a good friend to me, and and I miss Daisy unbelievably. And sometimes you lean on your friends when you need them, and he's been a good friend.
Oh, yeah.
Will you be willing to share how much you charge to critique a website? That was asked by a Facebook user. I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
Everett Prostrollo.
I on my consulting, if you go to my Patreon page, I have coaching and mentoring options that you can purchase. It's I think the coaching is like $15, where I'll give you some suggestions on how to improve your branding and stuff like that. The Patreon page will describe all of that. But that's a mentoring capacity. So you would just mentor me for 1 month, and it'd be $50. And I'll not only take a look at your website, I'll look at your social media, I'll look at all of that stuff and just give you feedback. Because one of the things that I think is kind of, I try not to mention it because I don't want to be unkind to those that don't know better. But how many times do you see people post a photo online and it's obviously not a good photo, and everybody says, awesome photo, looks wonderful, great, way to go, brother, and all this other stuff. And I'm looking at it going, yeah, don't put
There's a
that
lot
out
of liars out there that don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Yeah, we
and,
try
and
to.
that's just it. People want to be kind, but kindness will hurt you in the long run. And I can tell you from, from my point of view, I can share with you with as much kindness as I can give you to say, don't put that on your website. And here's the reason why. Or send it to me, let me work it, let me fix it, and then you can put it online. Because I had a Santa this last year during the summer. I did a business card for him. And he said that he had all these photos because I asked him for photos for the business card. And he sent me some really awful, like, cell phone photos. And I was like, really? You don't have any better photos? He goes, well, I did a professional session, but it's awful. I don't like it. And all these other things. And he sent it to me, and it had certain attributes that I needed, like the clarity and all of those other stuff and good lighting. I was able to fix the mistakes of the photographer that he hired. Now, one of the things that was a big deal was the belt was off center, and the photographer, it's very challenging, guys, to do this job. The photographer missed that one of the buttons wasn't buttoned on the jacket, and the belt was off center. And it wasn't because the photographer was inept, because the rest of the session, it looked good lighting, they were sharp, the backgrounds were good and all that stuff. It's just people think all photographers are created equal, and we're not. But I was able to fix those sessions. Now, granted, he had to pay me a little bit to do that, but now this session he was able to use in a multitude of different ways, whereas he thought it was an absolute, that he lost $250 that he paid for the session to be done. So that's where I'm saying I can help.
It goes back to saying you pay for what you get.
Yeah. To find my Patreon page, if you go to holidayphotomagic.com, there should be underneath on it should be a landing page that pops up with a photo of actually Joey. And underneath it has the link where it says visit Jessica Rosa's Patreon page. And if you go to northpoleliving.com, same thing. It has a photo of a reindeer going, hey. And then at the bottom it says, visit Jessica Rosa's Patreon page for updates.
Okay, great. Jessica, it looks like we've covered probably most everything. I don't know that we've missed a whole lot. We've been here quite a while, but do you have any final thoughts to share with our viewers?
You know what? I'm really looking forward to this year because I know I got to share a lot about me and my business this year, but I'm really looking forward to coming back and being a part of the show where I can teach you specifically things that are business oriented that you can use, like help you to understand in depth more about branding and, how to create content that will help your customers or your clientele base to engage with you. There are so many ideas and things that I can share with you. Like, let me give you one tiny little nugget. Tip jars. Digital tip jars, not a physical tip jar, but if you take a QR code and put it on an 8x10 that says, happy with your experience, send a tip to Santa. And you just put your Venmo page there. They can send you a tip. This last year, when I did a couple events for a couple of companies where it was a meet and greet kind of situation, or stick and shoot, as they call it, where kids came through, sat on Santa's lap, smile, what do you want for Christmas? Thank you very much. Here's your photo. See you later, type of thing. We actually got tips after the event that I shared with Santa because I felt like, we both earned them. So that is something that you can do to where people who attend the event can not only reach out to you, but give you a little extra.
Very good, folks. I know that, we've run along tonight. We knew that was going to be the case. Jessica is so knowledgeable when it comes to everything that she's talked about tonight, and we wanted to make sure that we covered it in depth. This is something that a lot of Santas, Mrs. Clauses, and elves haven't had the privilege of knowing a lot of this information or understand how this side of the Santa community works. So we felt that it was important, and we appreciate you staying with us. At this point, we're going to reveal tonight's trivia answers.
Yay!
The first trivia answer, schoolofsantas.com. Now, this is good for whoever the winner is. Name will go into the hat for a drawing for a School of Santa's scholarship for July. We're going to be there 2 weeks, 2 weekends. So if you can't go one weekend, maybe you can make it the next. The more times you win, the more opportunity you have for your name to be pulled. So this is good for the drawing. Silver Dollar City in Branson has a groundbreaking wooden coaster named Outlaw Run and is known as the world's most daring wooden coaster. It's known for two main reasons. The reasons are it's the world's first and only double barrel on a wooden coaster and the steepest wooden coaster with a drop more than 16 stories. And our winner is
Nancy Underwood Hill.
Nancy Underwood. Nancy, your name goes in the drawing for a scholarship to attend, and that's a $359 opportunity there. And we'll have the drawing probably the week or the 2 weeks before the event in July. That way, it'll give you a chance to make arrangements and stuff. So, yeah, exactly. All right, moving on to our second trivia question. StuffForSanta.com. This is good for one of the wallets that we showed earlier. This is the trivia prize tonight for this particular question. Which novel written about the Ozarks has become the fourth most widely read book in publishing history? And what year was it published? And who was the author? On that's going to be The Shepherds of the Hills, written in 1907 by Harold Bell Wright. And our winner?
Everett Pastrollo.
Everett Pastrollo wins that one. Very good, Everett. You'll be getting your wallet. I think I've got your address. If not, I'll reach out to you. For sure, we still have it. And for the holiday photo magic trivia answer, what popular Christmas song donates all of its royalties to Ethiopia Famine Aid? That is Last Christmas by George Michael. And
Well,
okay, Jesse, this is up to you. Excuse me. I know you don't like to be called Jesse. You told me that. Jessica.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I
It's
just
just-
always called you that. Why didn't you tell me before now? Anyway,
Well, because it's a childhood name. So when you call it to me and you're kind of like a big teddy bear.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't.
Old guy.
So here's the dilemma that we're up against. Normally, if you win one of the trivia prizes, you're not eligible to play for the next one for that night. We also have a 30-day timeout that if you win, you got to wait 30 days before you can play again to win. Here's our dilemma. Our winner for the holiday photo magic, we only had one person that got the right answer. That's Everett Prostrollo. So he won the stuff for Santa. Are you willing to go ahead and allow him to also win your gift?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure because you get the call on that. So, and what was it that you were going to offer tonight?
he gets to choose between the one of three. He can send me some photos that I'll edit for him and make them better, or he can have me design him a one-sided business card, which he can print for himself, or I'll do a Facebook announcement or ad, kind of like I said, similar to what I did for, the Tuesday Night Live show,
Yes.
where it shares whatever he wants to share, whether it's, an event or book me for, something that he could do later on. And then there was, and then, you know, those were the three options.
Okay. So just reach out to Jessica. You can find her on Facebook and or all the different places that she mentioned before, and decide what you want to take as the winner of that holiday photo magic. And we appreciate you so much, Jessica, for coming on as one of our sponsors this year and to be able to give all the information that you have. And we will have you back. We've talked about that already. Maybe next month after next, but hey, we might even wait till the time that we're in Branson because we're going to have a few days down there. That might be a good time to do it. But we'll talk about that behind the scenes. All right, back over to you, Scott.
Well, one last thing, Jessica. How do folks get a hold of you?
Well, that's what we were just talking.
And well, I'm just saying do we have her email up where we can put it up, Angela?
Yeah, you can email me at jessica@jrosaphoto.com because jrosaphoto.com is my full site. And you can actually see some of my work with Holiday Photo Magic at that site if you're not familiar with my photography. But it also has my email and all that stuff. But you can reach me generally on Facebook, Messenger. I generally watch my phone pretty consistently, but sometimes it does take me a day or two to get back with people just because, well, I am a mom and I do have to do laundry and cook food and feed my dogs.
Surprise.
I know. What? I don't live at the studio.
Okay,
I was really happy doing this here because my dogs would have drove me nuts. Who knows? My husband probably would have walked through in his skivvies. I mean, it's just my life is definitely an interesting.
Well, join us next week for our next Tuesday Night Live episode, and be sure and tune in to next Monday's Bob Randall and Company show to see what they've got cooking. Maybe it's burgers.
Hey, you never know. All right, brother. So you got any closing thoughts?
Well, I just want to thank Jessica so much for coming on again and being so informative and letting people know what's going on in her world. And thank our audience for sticking with us, like you said. And Bob, thank you for having me on. And Angela, as always, you're wonderful and you've done a great job tonight. So thanks again, everybody. And
thank you.
And of course, Scott will more than likely be back with us next week and possibly the week after that. Depends on how long Spangle's going to be out, but I know he's going to be out of pocket for a couple of 3 more weeks. So anyway, Jessica, thank you so much, dear, for joining us, being our featured guest. And gosh, what a great show. I think it's probably one of our longest shows, as we said, but we knew it was going to end up being that way. Not only did you have a lot to cover, but you have to make sure that, you get your words in.
I know.
It's important.
So much.
All right, a big thank you to schoolofsantas.com, stuffersanta.com, and Holiday Photo Magic. Don't forget our shows are recorded and can be found on our Facebook group and our YouTube channel at The Tuesday Night Live. While you're over there, be sure and look for all the Bob Randall and Company Live preview shows. We have our own channel over there, and we appreciate you coming in and being able to give us a like or, a subscription. We would greatly appreciate it. All right. Tell everyone good night, Scott.
Good night, Scott.
Remember to join us for our next Tuesday Night Live each week, 7 p.m. Central. Same Claus time, same Claus channel. Count your blessings, not your sorrows. Have a blessed week. Until next time, on behalf of Jessica, Scott, Spangle, Angela, and myself, I'm Santa Bob McMaster saying good night. Remember, always let your Santa and Mrs. Claus heart shine bright. See you next week. See you Monday. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Angela.